lawyers who are going to practice business law need to know more about business. Right? They're going to be able to get further faster in their career if they've got a better understanding of basic business issues. And so with that in mind, we decided to rethink the way that we were going to approach the business curriculum here at the law school. And to do that, we've designed what I think is a pretty unique and a pretty effective way of trying to integrate business curriculum into the law school classroom. And so I want to talk a little bit about the various offerings that we have, and then leave plenty of time at the end for questions if there's something more specifically you want to ask me about. There are three main elements to the way that we think about business law here at the University of Virginia. The first one is with our traditional law school classes. So you are going to get some elements of a business education just when you take contract law during your first semester. Similarly, if you take the basic class in corporations or agency and partnership or insurance law, there are going to be a number of key elements of business-related issues that obviously are going to be a part of what you're studying. For some of you, that'll be enough. That's plenty. That's all you want, and that's fine. But for some of you, you might want to get a more intensive experience in your business law curriculum. Option number two is something that we call the Law and Business Program. And let me tell you a little bit about how this works. This is designed for students that don't want to go on to option number three and get the 4-year JDMBA, but they do want to try to bring in a little more business curriculum into their essential law school experience. The way it works is this. For students that don't have any experience at all in business issues, right? You've never taken classes as an undergrad, or maybe you took an accounting class, but it was 5 years ago and you can't quite remember, how that summary of cash flow statement works. We have an introductory class that's taught here at the law school in accounting and corporate finance. That's kind of the foundational class that students that don't have exposure to this will get exposure to this. This is an MBA style class. So we'll bring in professors from across campus. I teach the corporate finance half of it for some of the sections. But it's designed to use the exact same materials and to cover the exact same topics that you would get if you were taking an introductory class in accounting and corporate finance across the way at Gladden. There are a variety of case studies that you'll do as part of this class. Essentially, the first 7 weeks are accounting, and then the next 7 weeks you switch over and you take the basic corporate finance class. If you have experience in those elements, in those classes, you don't need to take this class at all. Right? This is offered for people that don't have experience and that want some exposure to these topics. Some of the students then will go on, armed with that basic class, and take more advanced courses, which I'll turn to in a minute. Some students don't want to take more business law classes, but they recognize that even if they want to be litigators, right, even if they want to be plaintiff's attorneys, it's helpful to know whether the corporation you're about to sue has money or not. And so, part of the way to figure that out is to, have an understanding of accounting. This introductory class in accounting and corporate finance has proved to be incredibly popular here at the University of Virginia. This year we had to add a third section. We've had over 200 students this year go through that, foundational class. Once you've done that, you then have the option to take some special sections. And these are really special sections of the traditional classes. So in the area of corporations, securities regulation, bankruptcy, and secured transactions, we have 2 different sections of those classes. You can take a regular section of corporations, or you can take what's called the law and business section of corporations. You can take the regular section of securities regulation, or you can take the law and business section of securities regulation. And you don't have to take one law and business section, as soon as you take one. You can kind of pick and choose depending on what you want to take. But if you do choose to take the law and business section, you're going to get a more intensive experience, or at least the professors are going to be able to draw upon the fact that they know you have this foundation of knowledge in accounting and corporate finance. So they're going to tune the class a little bit differently. They're not going to focus as much on any basic valuation elements or any basic understanding of what a balance sheet looks like. Instead, if you're taking a bankruptcy class, for example, they may be able to assume that knowledge and do some more forward-looking case-based studies, or just tailor the class in a slightly different manner, knowing that you've got that foundational knowledge. Beyond that, we have a variety of short courses that we've implemented as kind of the third part of our law and business program. These are classes that are typically taught over a 2-week period. Sometimes they're taught over a 4-week period. And they're mostly taught by practitioners. Here at the law school, we're fortunate that there's been a long tradition of lawyers who have gone into the area of law and business, and they like coming back here to be able to teach for a couple of weeks. So if you look down at kind of the roster of graduates here at the law school, you know, the general counsel of Ford, of Procter & Gamble, of Boeing, of Major League Baseball, they're all graduates of the law school. Many managing partners of very large law firms are former former students at the University of Virginia. Even business executives, the commissioner of PGA Golf, the president of NBC, the chairman of Qualcomm China, they're all, you know, students that have come through the law school. And so we tap, you know, into that base of alums, and we try to bring them in to do a couple of weeks here. Let me give you a little bit of the flavor of the types of classes that we're able to offer under these short course programs. They're spread out through the entire semester, so some students will end up taking, you know, 2 classes or 3 of these short classes in one semester. So one of the classes that I'll give you just a couple of classes that we've offered. Chuck Cory is a managing director at Morgan Stanley. He's an alum of the law school. He also did an MBA. He teaches a class in mergers and acquisitions. He ran the mergers and acquisitions department of Morgan Stanley for quite a while. He was the head of their healthcare practice. He was the head of their media and entertainment practice. That's proven to be a very popular short course. We also have brought Norman Vesey, who is a senior partner at Weil Gotshal. He is the former Chief Justice of the Delaware Supreme Court. And those of you that are familiar with corporate law know that Delaware is where a lot of the action is. He's come several times to teach a class called Real World Transactional Challenges. So he's going to talk about some tricky transactional challenges that he's seen either on the bench or in his practice at Weil, and talk through how you would take apart those issues from a legal and business point of view. In fact, coincidentally, the current Chief Justice of the Delaware Supreme Court is here today. If you see him walking around, he came in to talk for another class. He's actually a graduate of the law school as well. But you know, I mean, we have people coming in and out all the time. A third class that we offer in a short course type format is taught by Joseph Gladden. He was a partner at at King & Spalding in Atlanta. He left King & Spalding in 1985 and joined Coca-Cola, and eventually rose to become the general counsel of Coca-Cola. He teaches a class called Governance and the Control of the Multinational Business Enterprise. So drawing upon that experience, right, he's talking about here's how we did it at Coke, right? Here are the problems that we faced at Coke. Here's what we learned. Here's how we approach those situations. Those are just 3. There are, you know, more than a dozen of these short courses that we offer throughout the year. And if you want more of a flavor, you know, for what these courses cover, you know, I'm happy to tell you more about them. Right, we've got courses on white-collar crime, you know, avoiding club fed through your ethics and integrity. In fact, courses on private equity and venture capital and biotech-related issues. Finally, some of you may be interested in the JDMBA program. You might say, I am so, you know, convinced that law and business is a wonderful thing to do that I want to go on and do the JDMBA program. So let me just tell you a little bit about how that works. If you were to separately go through and get a JD and then go on and get your MBA, that would be a 5-year process. By doing both degrees in the combined degree program, you can basically save a year and get both degrees just within 4 years. How does it work? Well, you'll typically spend 1 year at the law school and 1 year over at the business school at Darden. You can switch it around if you'd rather do your first year at Darden. And then your last 2 years of the program are back and forth between the two departments. Importantly, you don't have to take a heavier course load in any given year. You're essentially just taking a regular full-time load over that full 4-year period. The only difference is that you've got to go the extra year, and so you're able to apply some of your classes at Darden to your curriculum here and vice versa. In order to be admitted to the JDMBA program, you need to first apply to both programs, right? There's no integrated application. So I'm assuming that you're all admitted to the law school. You've gotten that part out of the way. Now if you want to do the program, you need to apply over at Darden. Finally, you should know that beyond just the basic coursework, the course elements, there's a lot of other things that we do to try to bring in, you know, these issues of business and law together. There's a new law review journal that was founded a few years ago. It's called the Law and Business Review. We hold a variety of symposia where we have, academics and, leading figures from around the country coming in to talk about the financial crisis or to talk about kind of what's going on with a specific issue of business law. The Chief Justice Steele is here today, as I mentioned. We're also trying to innovate on the course side of things as well. I'm going to be co-teaching a new class next year with a McKinsey consultant. It's going to be called Applied Problem Solving. And it's basically an intensive class where we are trying to give you some of the skills that you might need if you're going to be a consultant. But if you're going to be a litigator, if you don't want to be a consultant, there are a variety of very effective problem solving techniques. We're going to try to put you in some real world sustained situations where you're learning those sorts of skills in both a variety of business and law related settings. We're also establishing a new seminar course next year that's going to be kind of a capstone class to the JDMBA program, but also if there are students that are just interested in these topics, they can take it. It's going to be dealing with current financial crisis related issues. And so probably next year we're going to be having some new regulation to look at. There's going to be a whole new variety of problems, I'm sure. Maybe it'll be good things and we'll be talking about the wonderful developments in the economy, who knows. But it's going to be kind of a current topics in corporate securities and banking related issues. So I guess the bottom line here is that we take the education, the area of business and law very seriously here at the University of Virginia. It's an important part of what we do. We want to try to provide you with a very tailored set of options here depending on your level of interest, but it is something that we think can be a very important part of your legal education.